Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone for teaching us His truth to rule well. Today's the Sabbath day, okay, and I had to go to work, but especially during the Sabbath day, we should be involved in, making videos and listening to brothers' videos, and meditating upon the scriptures. All right. And, as I was listening to videos, there was another video that started playing, and it jumped to, some Christian videos, but then it came upon me to look up, actually I think it just went to itself, abomination that maketh desolate, with abomination of desolation, spoken by Daniel. So then I kind of researched that, and I looked up what people were saying the abomination of desolation is, and some of the things that came up was Antiochus or Antiochus Epiphanes, or Antiochus the Fourth, came up as the abomination of desolation. Another thing that came up was the Roman persecution, which led to the diaspora of the Jews, which they fled away from the destruction of the Romans, which really both of them are partially true. All right, because Yahweh Shai said the man of sin would be revealed, okay, and it's clearly showing you through history, right, filtering through the scriptures who that man of sin is. All right, the border of wickedness, right? Wickedness is sin, and like Micah 4 goes into it, the border of wickedness is Esau, Edom, the Idumeans, okay? So this is Leviticus 19 and 15. Ye shall not do unrighteousness in judgment, okay? Because that's very important, man. When you come to judge things, you put away feelings, you put away picking sides, You have to put yourself neutral, all right, and judge righteously according to the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, okay? So say there's this white dude, all right, so-called white man, and he's cool with you, and he's nice to you, and you see that he gets along with Jake, all right, and he hates the way that the world is, and he's a dedicated man to the Lord. You have to judge righteously, right? There's no unrighteousness in your judgment that you should be making. So just because he looks like a so-called white man doesn't mean he necessarily is, right? So we will look at him and we'll assess him, we'll ask questions, and based off of those questions, the answers that we get is the manner of man that he is, right? If you ask him things like, what do you think the mark of the beast is? And if he responds with, well, it could potentially be the RFID chip, but maybe he doesn't have a clear knowledge on that. And if you ask him who Babylon is, and his response is, it could be America, because of how wicked this place is, those are good indicators that this man may not be an Edomite, but then you go further testing and further testing, so there's a lot of testing that has to be done, man. Same thing with us. We're being tested every single day, man, by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, so there's certain things that we have to look into, man. And another thing is, you have a lot of Jakes out there, all right, they do unrighteous judgment, saying, not the white man is not a bad man. The so-called Idumeans, all right, the so-called what is it called? The so-called white man, which are at the Wamyam, all right. At the Wam means Edom. At the Wamyam is Edomites, which ites means children of or sons of, sons of Edom, the children of Edom. So the Idumeans, okay, you have a lot of Jakes that look at these Idumeans and feel some type of pity for them, man. Just because of what we bring out, But scriptures tell you in Leviticus 19:15, ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment, right? Look at the things, look at this man's track record, man. Look at the majority of these Idumeans' track record, man. It's nothing but wickedness, right? They might have some times where seemingly they're not doing anything, all right? But even behind the scenes, they're wicked, man. The higher up elites are Idumeans, So it says, thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, right? It says, nor honor the person of the mighty. And that's what you're doing, man. Just because this man is in rulership, you're looking at him like, he's a good man. All right. But yet their most famous people, all right, the most famous Idumeans in history have done nothing but wickedness, man. And these people look up to them, like Christopher Columbus. That was an Idumean that was looked up by all Idumeans. He discovered America when he didn't. The same thing with Alexander the Greek. Alexander was a great Idumean, according to the Idumeans. They look at him like he was something special, man. Saying that he was the greatest king to have lived, the greatest conqueror to have lived. And they disregard the homosexuality that came with Alexander the Greek. And the slaughtering, the rape, the robbery, the murdering that came with Alexander the Greek. All right. And these people are blinded by their love of themselves, man. You see? Same thing with Julius Caesar. You have Julius Caesar that is in high standards according to them. They teach you about the conquistadors. All right. They look at the conquistadors like great men. Then they talk about Napoleon. They talk about the British Empire. And then they talk about the American history like it's something beautiful. Okay? But the whole time, the track records of all of them has been nothing but wickedness. You see? So you're not supposed to respect the person of the poor, right? You look at somebody and say, oh, in Spanish, you say pobrecito. That means you feel bad for somebody, sharing compassion with them. All right. And that word pobre means poor. Respecting the poor, like, man, he must have gone through some rough times. We have to be there for him. And that's what Christianity teaches you, man. They don't teach you any type of judgment, any type of righteousness. You just got to be nice to everybody. It says, not saying that you have to go out there and be mean, all right, but you don't have to be out there being fake, man. You might do certain things to be wise, all right, to be wise in as serpents and as harmless as doves, but it says no, honor the person of the mighty, all right, which the mighty right now is Idumea, okay, because their ancestor Edom, which means red, all right, because he was born red all over, okay. Their ancestor Esau was known as a mighty man, all right, a hunter, okay. It says, but in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor. You see, even Jakes that look at us, that go out to the highways and byways, telling us that we're wicked because we say that the white man, the so-called white man, is wicked. Saying that we're wicked because we calling them Idumeans. But woe unto you that calleth evil good and good evil, right? And that's written in scripture, man. So you have to be very careful with the things that you say. All right, very careful with especially who you come up against. So without further ado, let me go over here. This is Matthew 24 and verse 15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Right? And that's the same thing we see in the book of Luke and the book of Mark. Okay? But it couldn't have been Antiochus Epiphanes, even though he is an Edomite. All right? And Idumeans are known to be desolation of abomination, or the abomination of desolation. Right? The abomination that maketh desolate. You know? Because that word abomination, let's go into it. Abomination, which is delugma, which is a foul thing, a detestable thing. All right, these are detestable things. The nation of Edom is the border of wickedness, right? It's known as a detestable thing. The Holy Spirit rejected the Idumeans, that they would not receive the promise. Okay, and that's written in Hebrews 12. It says, of idols and things pertaining to idolatry. And guess who's gonna try and idolatrize? What is that word? Idolatrize, to make himself an idol. Idumea. All right, when they bring out the RFID chip, which is gonna be an idol that goes in your body to worship an idol, which the god would be Idumea. You know, that's why it says that he will exalt himself, you know, to be likened unto the Most High. You know, because all these things are getting ready to happen, man. So the abomination that maketh desolate, that Yahushua was speaking about, is a foul, all right, a foul man that makes desolation wherever he goes. Okay, look what happened to the so-called Negroes, the so-called Latinos, the so-called Native Americans. Who made them desolate? You know, who made you desolate? Who brought forth all this wickedness? All right, that you may try, you know, a man with a man, try a woman with a woman, you know, two women and one man, or all three men, you know, threesomes and all kinds of sums. You know, who brought that forth, man? You know, it's this damn devil, and they know what they're doing. All right, they know what they're doing. When you go into the word, what is it called? Adultery. All right, it's pornos in the Greek. You know, in the Latin, it's pornos. You know, which, what do they name the industry that where you see a woman being taken by a man, or a woman committing adultery with many men? All right, they call it a porn site, right? Which goes back to that word pornos, which means adultery or adultery, you know? So this man knows what he's doing. You know, why else would he start putting certain Greek words, Latin words, you know, into certain things that he does, man? The elder apostle went into it the other day, because the elder Yashawamba from the Dallas camp had sent him a link, you know, about Coronis, you know, which is I believe it was a goddess, if I'm not mistaken. It might be a god, you know, I might have gotten that confused, but it was a Greek god, all right, that was being promoted as that was being promoted, you know. And the same thing with this one model named Crown with the K. All right. So there's certain things that Esau Edom does, man. All right, in order to program, all right, the people, the masses, you know, which is called predictive programming. You know, you have that in movies, you have that in shows, TV shows, you know. So this man is a foul thing, man. Job spoke about him, said men that he would that he wouldn't even put with his dogs, you know, because he's a foul person, a foul being, you know. So it says When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. And when Antiochus Epiphanes went into Jerusalem to conquer, all right, he did stand in the holy place, all right, and he did sacrifice swine's flesh, and he made the temple of Israel, for whoredoms. He had a bunch of women go in there and sleep with different men, which again is an abomination. All right, pornos, adultery I should say. So this man knows what he's doing, man, and he knows wickedness better than our people know righteousness. So it says, whoso readeth, let him understand. So when you go to Luke chapter 1, and I believe it was around the same Salak. Where am I at? It says, and when you shall see, was it Luke 1? Salakia. Let's see, how did it start? Spoken of by Daniel the prophet, then flee. Let's see, it was Luke 21. Luke chapter 21 and verse 21. Actually, let me start up here. Luke 21 and 20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Right? And that's the same thing that the book of Matthew was going into, Matthew 24. When you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet coming to the holy place, all right, then know that the or how did it say it? When you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, then you have to flee into the mountains. But in Luke 21 and 20, it describes what that is. It says, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Right? So the abomination that maketh desolate made Israel desolate. In 70 AD, when the Roman Empire went into the besieging of Jerusalem, which destroyed the cities. Okay, and you had Israelites that dispersed. Some fled to different places, and then eventually they ended up in the west borders of Africa. They ended up throughout Europe and throughout Asia, because of the desolation or the abomination, which is Idumea, that maketh desolate. All right. So now let's go into, let me see if I can find that one. Daniel's 11 and 31. And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and they shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. Right? And that that establishment All right, the rulership is of the Idumeans. You know, they took away the daily sacrifice, right, which is Yahweh Shai. You know, they even took away actual following of the law, statutes, and commandments. You know, you couldn't profess yourself to be a Jew, and that was under Antiochus or Antiochus. You know, and then the Roman Empire persecuted the saints. All right, so this is Daniel 12 and 11. It says, and from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. You know, so you had the Roman Empire that fell in about 300 AD, 400 AD. Sometimes they say 500 or 600 AD, up until the 13 to 1600s, when the Renaissance happened. You know, so the abomination that maketh desolate is the horse spoken of in Revelations. All right, that wherever he goes, death follows. All right, this is the Idumeans. You know, that's how they conquer the world, by the desolation that they bring. All right, so now let me go into this article. Really, let me start off at this one. It says ancient Romans. All right, and here is the picture. A bunch of pictures of the ancient Romans. All right, and who do they look like? They look like Idumeans. You know, the same people that are in rulership today. You see, these are the same people that were in rulership back then, are the same ones that are in rulership today, man. You know, the same thing with the Greeks. All right, when you go into the Greek rulership, which, you know, you have Idumeans here in American literature. They go into American history. They go into world history. All right, but their world, because what they talk about, they don't talk about the princes of Persia, the kings of Persia. They don't talk about the Babylonian kingdom. They don't talk about any of that stuff, man. You know, they don't. They don't go into that type of history. For the longest time, all right, I remember, you know, this video game long time ago. You know, probably when I was around, you know, 8 years old or something. You know, there was this game that was around called the Prince of Persia. Okay, and I thought it was just a made-up game. You know, because around that time you had Grand Theft Auto, and they had Vice City, and they had San Andreas, Los Santos, you know, which are just made-up cities in the video game. So I thought Prince of Persia was a made-up, you know, a made-up thing. You know, and not until really recently I realized that Persia, the Medes, all right, the Greek, you know, and before the Greek you had the Babylonian. I realized that all those peoples, they were actual true historical people, you know, people from history. All right, but the Idumeans, they're not going to try and show you anybody, especially, you know, that's not Idumea. All right, so who do they always go back to when they speak of, you know, world history? They start off with the Greeks, right? Then they go to the Romans. They briefly touch upon the Spanish, the French, you know, and then they go into the English, and then a good percentage of the time, all right, it's about the English, and then it's the history of America, you know. So after you're what is it, maybe 6th grade, you know, maybe 7th grade, you go into world history, you know, and then you go into American history closer to graduation. You know, I might have that backwards, but I believe that's how it goes. You know, so they really only want to talk about the Idumeans, because they always go back to the Greeks, the Romans, the Spanish, the French. All right, they go to the English, and then they go into American history, you know, and they skip over and make slavery look like it was just a walk in the park, man. You know, like the slaves were out in the fields, smiling, doing the bidding of the masters, man. They don't go into the rape, the robbery, the murder. They don't go into the buck breaking they did with men. They don't go into the desolations that they committed. They just want to show the pretty picture. All right? And that's these men. That's these group of individuals, man. These group of people. They're the wicked in the earth. They're the wicked in the earth. All right? And they show certain things, so that you can think certain things. All right? They'll show you movies where, dark-skinned people are wicked. They're evil. They're savages. They're unruly. They don't know how to behave themselves. They're rapists. They'll show you those kind of movies, all right, so that when you go out to your daily life, what you see is those men that the movie portrays, and you think what the movie portrays. Oh, I'm gonna lock my doors because there's a Judite or there's an Issacharite coming down the street. I'm gonna lock my doors. The darker you get, the more wicked you are, according to Esau Edom, man. And that's what these Idumeans have been planted, all right, in our minds and in their own minds. So that's one, who the ancient Romans were, all right, and they look like Idumeans, all right, modern day Americans, modern day French, so-called. So this is Wikipedia, and it says the nature of Edomite religion is largely unknown. Before their conversion to Judaism by the Hasmoneans, right? Because you had, in the time of the Maccabees, all right, after the Maccabees were, or after the Israelites were forced to convert into being Greeks, you had the Hasmoneans that forced Edomites into becoming Jews, which, the Edomites are not going to convert into Judaism or into being Israelites. You can't convert into that, man, but they try to convert them to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. And that's why you had the Samaritan woman, all right, that said to Yahushua, our father Jacob, built this well, and you say you can build one greater, and this and that. She was a Samaritan woman, all right, most likely descendant of an Edomite, all right, of an Idumean. That's why Yahushua told her, if you knew who it was that spoke to you and told you these things, it's in John chapter 4, verse 20. Yahushua said, then he would have given you eternal life. All right, and that woman was representative of Idumea. If Idumea really believed in Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, all right, and he would have actually wanted to be righteous, actually wanted the Lord, actually heard the Lord, then he wouldn't have been rejected like he was in Hebrews chapter 12, which really goes back to the book of Genesis, but it tells you that also in Hebrews 12, that Esau, Edom, Idumea was rejected, So it says, epigraphical evidence suggests that the national god of Edom was Kaos. All right, and then they'll tell you the Hebrew word there. It says, is invoked in the blessing formula and letters and appears in personal names found in ancient Edom as close relatives of other Lebanite Semites, all right, which the Idumeans are Semites, all right, Israelites are Semites, all right, you have Ammonites, which are Semites, because they come from Sem, all right, there's no such thing as Shemites, or Salakia Sem. There's no such thing as Semites. It's really Shem, because they come from the lineage of Shem, which out of Shem came Eber, and Eber turned into Ibarya, which means Hebrew. So you had a lot of Hebrews, and that's why the apostle Paul said, I am a Hebrew of the Hebrews. which means he's an Israelite. You know, we are Hebrews of the Hebrews, man. You know, the highest ranking Hebrew is an Israelite. You know, you have Hebrew Israelites, Hebrew Edomites, you have Hebrew Ammonites, Hebrew Moabites. You know, and no matter how much you want to defile the 12 tribe chart, these other nations are not going to come in, man. They're not even going to want or think or try to go in, you know, because this belongs to the Hebrew Israelites, to the Hebrews of the Hebrews. So it says, they may have worshipped such gods as El, Baal, Tauz, Asherah, so on and so forth. This is the oldest biblical tradition place Yahweh, which there is no such name as Yahweh, as a deity of southern Edom. It may have originated in Edom, Teman, and Sinai before being adopted in Israel and Judah. There is a Jewish tradition stemming from the Talmud, which the Talmud itself is wicked. All right, it's really the book that was translated from the Hebrew to the that's the Septuagint, Salakia. The Talmud is just a wicked ass book, man, by these Idumeans. It says, and the descendants of Esau would eventually become the Romans, and to a larger extent, all Europeans. Check that out, man. You know, I know the elder apostle Tahar had gone into that the other day. You know, maybe a month ago. But he went into this as well. You know, it says Esau would eventually become the Romans, and to a larger extent, all Europeans. What do Europeans look like, man? You know, they all look like these ancient Romans. Look, I typed in ancient Romans, and you go to it, and you see these pale-skinned people, man. You know, which whenever they blush, what happens to their skin? They turn red. Right? Whenever they blush, they turn red. And that word Idumea or Edom goes back to the word red, man. So let's go back to that on this one. All right, which goes up here. It says Edom and Idumea are two related but distinct terms which are both related to the historical contiguous population but two separate, which not really. All right, Idumeans are Edomites, you know. But it says the Edomites first established a kingdom, Edom, in southern area of modern-day Jordan, and later migrated into the southern parts of the kingdom of Judah. You see? So it says down up here, let me see. Let me see if I can find that one. Because they said it themselves, man. Oh, Salakia. It was back here. Let me go back. Let's see if I can keep going back. Oh, right here it says the Hebrew word Edom means red, and in the Hebrew Bible relates to the name of its founder, Esau, the elder son of the Hebrew patriarch Isaac, because he was born red all over. As a young adult, he sold his birthright to his brother Jacob for red pottage. All right, and in that, and that's when he was named Edom. All right, he was named Esau, Aisha, which means wasted away. You know, Aisha, wasted away. And why did Isaac name him wasted away? Is because his skin was translucent. He didn't have a protection against the UV rays, the sun. You know, his skin was wasted away. You know, and then later, because he sold his birthright for red pottage, all right, you know how Jake is, they nicknamed him Edom, which means red, which he was born red. You know, Idumea was born red. So whenever you see pictures like these ancient Romans, guess what? Whenever they get shy, angry, upset, you know, embarrassed, they turn red because their blood shows forth, you know? And it's something that we constantly go into, man. You know? So going back to this, it says there is a Jewish tradition at the very top stemming from the Talmud that the descendants of Esau would eventually become the Romans, and to a larger extent all Europeans. All right, so Julius Caesar was an Idumean. All right, you had Alexander the Greek was an Idumean. All right, you had back to Julius Caesar was an Idumean. Antiochus, nicknamed Epiphanes, was an Idumean. All right, and what did Antiochus Epiphanes do? He tried to eliminate the Jews. Why? Because he had that perpetual hatred. All right, that hatred that he had inside of himself, that Idumeans have for Israelites from their very birth, man. From their very, very birth, you know, which was when Esau, Edom, was a babe in the womb of his mom, of his mother. You know, it said that the children struggled. You know, when you go into that word, it means that they hated each other. They fought like an actual fight, man. If it was two grown-ups fighting, all right, they would have tried to kill each other. And that's what the babes were doing, you know? And that's why the spirit was rejected Edom, you know? So the desolation that maketh desolate, all right, started out with Esau, you know? So it says, Luke 21:20, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. All right. Now, when we go into let me see if it'll come up like this. Much violence. Salakia. Yep, Matthew 11:12. And from the days of John the Baptist until now. All right, this is Yahweh Shai speaking. Until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth much violence. All right, it suffereth violence. And the violent take it by force. All right, now let's go to the root word. It was Matthew. The violent suffereth much violence, which is to use force, to apply force, inflict violence. All right, so let's go back. It says, John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth much violence, or suffereth violence, and the violent, strong, forceful, using force, violent. All right, take it by force, to seize, carry off by force, claim for oneself eagerly, to snatch out or away. Right, and that's what happened in the besieging of Israel, or of Jerusalem. All right, you had the Roman armies, which are Idumeans, all right, that went into Jerusalem and tried to take it by force, and they did. That's the same thing that Antiochus Epiphanes, that's the same thing that he did. You know, he tried to go into Jerusalem, and he actually tried to destroy all the Jews, kill all of them, you know. And then you had, which the people, whenever they saw him, considered him the desolation, all right, the abomination that maketh desolate. They considered Antiochus to be that. And then they also considered the Roman Empire to be the abomination that maketh desolate, because whenever they saw them coming, they ran. That's why the people, you know, it was like a regular day. You know, people went to work, people were doing their business. But whenever they heard something happen, whenever they saw them, they all fled. You know, they didn't go back to their houses. You know, they fled, man. They went to the mountains, to the hills. They just left Jerusalem, and they were scattered abroad. You know, which were Idumeans. Now we have the same man that's making desolate things. All right, which that thing that he's making for desolation is the idol, which is the RFID chip. You know, and if you take that chip, man, he's destroying you. You know, this time he's going after you in secret, man. You know, he's not gonna get a bunch of armies and march down the street and say, you know, we're here to kill all the Negroes. They're not gonna say that. They're gonna do it in silence. All right, and they're gonna give you the RFID, and if you don't take it, they have an excuse to go in and destroy you physically. You know, but where are you gonna go when his kingdom is gonna be trying to be established throughout the whole world? You have nowhere to hide, man. You know, so Antiochus Epiphanes was part of the abomination that maketh desolate. The Roman Empire was part of the abomination that maketh desolate. All right, but ultimately is Esau Edom, you know, and this was fulfilled during 70 AD. All right, but I'm just making the comparison that Esau Edom himself is the abomination that maketh desolate. You know, in Matthew 24, it was talking about the Roman Empire. Same thing with Luke 21. But look at the people that are committing desolation. Those people are the abomination, man. So now let's go to Micah 4 and Salakia. It might have been the one. Salakia, bear with me, Akim. Where is it? Let me look it up, Salakia. Edom's sin was perpetual hatred, and Edom's punishment shall be perpetual desolations. That's 1 Ezekiel 35. Oh, that one's a good one too. Joel 3 and 19. It says, Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. Right? And the children of Judah are the so-called Negroes. You know? But also, it could be under Judah, all right, which is the southern kingdom, could also be the sons of the righteous, which are the 12 tribes of Israel, right? The righteous ones. It says, but Judah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem for generation to generation. All right, Jerusalem is Yarawa Shalom, which means city of peace. It says, for I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for Yahweh dwelleth on Zion, right? So Edom shall be a desolate wilderness, man. You know, that goeth into perdition, right? The 8th that goeth into perdition. Perdition is desolation, destruction. You know, the abomination that maketh desolate. You know, that's Esau, Edom, Idumea. The other one was where Ezekiel 35. It says, verse 1, moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it. Right? And that mountain is not, talking about a literal mountain, because right now there's no one living in those mountains, man. When you go to Mount Seir, which actually, let me type that in. All right, you have Mount Seir. All right, but that place is desolate. There's no one living in there. So we're not gonna literally go over there and set our face against Mount Seir. But I believe Mount Seir was set as the capital of Edom. Let me see. An ancient capital of Edom was Basra, according to Genesis. It says, Esau's descendants settled in the land after they had displaced the Horites. It was also called the land of Seir. Mount Seir appears to have been strongly identified with them and may have been a cultic site, right? So when you go back here, the book of Isaiah also goes into Yahushua destroying Basra whenever he comes back. Now, is Yahushua going to go to Basra, which no one is really dwelling in Basra? Is he going to go there and start destroying, the dirt? He's not going to do that, man. So when you go into Mount Seir, all right, which a mountain, Har, is mountain, but also it's seen as a government structure. Whenever you have mountains and, they're the government structures of the nations, So the government of Seir, which is hairy or shaggy, right? And it says patriarch of the Horites and inhabitants of Idumea before the descendants of Esau, the Edomites. All right, the land of Edom, south of the Dead Sea. All right, so it's talking about Edom. So it says, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. And then it goes into how he hated the children of Israel. All right, this is just something that Edom, all right, is known for, man. Malachi, I keep saying Micah. All right, it was Malachi 1 and 4. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh hath indignation forever. Right? So, like it says in the book of Romans chapter 9, the Most High created one vessel unto honor and one unto dishonor. All right? So this man that maketh things desolate is Esau Edom, which modern day Americans, So pretty soon, all right, now that this truth has been released out into the world, now that people are starting to wake up, now that the end times prophecies are starting to get closer and closer, with the Maxi and the RFID being presented, and they're going to be implemented, and they're going to cause you to take those things, because if you don't, you're going to be deemed as a menace. All right, you're going to be deemed as an outsider. Okay, and they're going to make you think that you're fit for destruction if you don't take it, which is going to be through those armies, which are the waters. So Esau Edom is coming, man. Idumea is the abomination that maketh desolate. So I hope that was edifying. With that, I want to say shalom.